It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
That's caught! Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score! He would not be denied!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Sponsored by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Kyle Ireland. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
We're having a great time here in Colorado, live from Boulder. BYU and Colorado tonight. Extended pregame begins at 6 o'clock. Myself, Mitch Harper, and Kyle Ireland will get you ready for the Cougs and the Buffs tonight. It's a big game as BYU opens up Big 12 play. Year 3 in the Big 12 for the Cougars. And Cougars are number 25 in the AP Top 25 poll, finally getting some national recognition.
Only took them a few weeks, Mitch.
My
goodness.
It really did. And this show today, Cougar Sports Saturday, is sponsored by Any Hour Services, Electric, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Kyle, let's dive in more into this BYU-Colorado matchup with 3 and Out.
3 and Out. A quick hit look at BYU's next opponent on the gridiron. It's 3 and Out.
So on any football drive in a game, on these game days, we always break down the matchup with a in-depth preview, giving you some players to watch, some stats, some other tidbits that you need to know going into a given BYU football matchup. And like any drive, we start things off with first down.
First down.
So a stat to watch here, Kyle. What's the stat that you're keeping an eye on for BYU versus Colorado?
2756 is my stat this week, Mitch, and you're like, oh, that's a weird stat.
Yeah, what is that?
It's Colorado's average time of possession per game this season, which ranks 106th in the FBS. BYU, for comparison, is 17th in the country at a little over 33 minutes per game. I think that's going to be a big factor in tonight's matchup. Who can win the battle of time of possession? BYU's got an outstanding rush defense, second in the country with 44 yards given up on the ground per game. If BYU can control that, you're going to see a BYU-dominated performance tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a good number. I mean, because, again, it's easy to just dismiss it, but in an era where the clock rolls after the first down, you can really absorb the clock a lot and get in and get out with these football games. For me, my stat to watch is the number 66.4, and like your number, you're probably thinking, what on earth is that number? That's been BYU's average starting field position, so about 66 yards away from the end zone. BYU has had a lot of good field position this year. You're talking about starting at your own 34-yard line in a given drive, and that's very manageable for a true freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. And I bring this up because Colorado, they have a punter in Damon Greaves who has been really good. He's had 5 punts inside the 10-yard line. Could this be a game where BYU is starting in less than ideal situations compared to the last 3 games? BYU has had really excellent field position. Think back to last week. They opened the game on, around the 40-yard line after East Carolina's drive. Their opening series stalled on a turnover on downs. BYU has had manageable field distance. Now, on the flip side, BYU has also had its opponents starting in less than ideal situations because Sam Vanderhaar, their punter for BYU, has been really good as well as pinning opponents deep in their own territory. But the punter for Colorado has been a weapon. The issue for the Buffs is that they can't stop and capitalize on that in field position when an opponent is backed up near their own end zone. So keep an eye on that for this game. Let's get to second down.
Second down.
Here on second down, we give you some players to watch. I'll start things off, Kyle. Evan Shmeev Johnson. Man, he was awesome last week. 2 interceptions for Shmeev, one of which was a pick six and completely changed the game for BYU against East Carolina. Keep an eye out for him because Colorado, they have a wide receiver that's a home run threat in Sincere Brown. So watch for him, number 9. He's their best deep ball guy. And then keep an eye on Draylon Miller. He's a wide receiver, but we could see him at running back tonight for Colorado. Coach Prime hinted like, hey, we got some plans when asked directly about Draylon Miller. So watch for those guys for the Buffs.
Yeah, speaking of Colorado's running backs, you've got Simeon Price, who's out tonight for the Buffs. And Micah Welch is my player to watch for Colorado because he's going to be their featured back tonight. This season he's only run for 143 yards and a touchdown, but him and their ground game, can BYU continue to shut them down on the defensive side of things? Because BYU's rush defense has been outstanding throughout the first 3 games. And then as far as BYU is concerned, I'm going to look at Bear Bachmeier. I think this game is going to be a big one for Bear. Obviously, small sample size with only 3 games so far, but he's taking care of the football. He's made good decisions. How often have we heard the coaching staff talk about Bears' decision-making? Can he continue to do that tonight? Can he stay turnover-free on this season? If he does, BYU can come away big.
Bear Bachmeier, 518 passing yards so far through 3 games, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He has been sacked 4 times. Completion percentage, 66%. You like that from Bear Bachmeier. I think that's trending up for the talented freshman. And then 22 carries for 65 yards and 4 touchdowns. You got to like what Bear Bachmeier's doing through his first 3 starts as BYU starting quarterback. I do think it continues to level up going into Big 12 play, but we've talked about it before. It's been incremental steps for Bear Bachmeier in this spot and in this schedule. It's really been a perfect roadmap for a true freshman quarterback to start off with home game against an FCS team, home game against a P4, first road game, but it's a group of 5 team. And now you go on the road against a Big 12 team to open up league play, but still a manageable game where you're the favorite heading into Boulder, which should be a pretty fun atmosphere. Bear's been really good through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that it couldn't have gone any better throughout the first month if you're BYU, having to play a true freshman or not having to, but having elevated a true freshman to be the starting quarterback for BYU to start a season for the first time in program history. Bears lived up to the billing so far, and if he continues to play clean football, BYU's got everything in front of him.
Let's get to third down.
Third down.
Right here we get with some bold predictions on third down. How bold are you today, Kyle?
Mine might be a little bold, but I'm going to rock with it. I'm going to say Bear Bachmeier runs for 100 yards. Yes, 100 yards for the Centaur. He's going to be galloping all over the Buffs tonight. Yeah, I think that Bear, his ability to utilize his legs has been maybe something that they've recognized. It's been utilized, but hasn't been fully tapped into so far this season. And I think the combination with him and LJ Martin can be pretty potent, and you saw that, even last week where Bear had that quarterback run up the middle for 16 yards. He's just such a big body, and he's tough. He bounces off people. I think that Bear is probably going to, I don't know. It's a bold prediction for 100 yards, Mitch, but I'm going to say 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground tonight for Bear Bachmeier.
I'm going to go bold as well and say BYU's defense produces 5 sacks on Caden Salter. BYU only has 7 sacks through the first 3 games. Not bad clip. I mean, you're averaging 2 sacks per game. You'll take that, considering especially Cougar fans have not seen BYU's defense produce many sacks. It was just 2 years ago. They only had 11 sacks. Last year they had 20 sacks. It's been incremental growth for BYU's defense. I'm going to say they have a big breakout performance. Maybe it's a gut feeling. Maybe it's something that's just sitting there in my loins that just says they're going to make it happen. But Caden Salter is a good quarterback, and he can run. And I think he's the best running quarterback for that BYU has faced to date this season. But there's going to be times where I think his decision-making maybe keeps him in the pocket a little too long. I mean, there was a reason he got benched for a game. Remember that. I mean, Ryan Staub, the third string, stepped in at quarterback for the Buffs. Caden Salter is not a perfect quarterback by any stretch. I think BYU has a big night defensively and gets 5 sacks. That's my bold prediction. And I'll say this, too. I'll add just kind of bonus. I'll say the 5 sacks, say Jack Kelly gets 2. I'll say Keanu gets 1. I'll say Logan Latui gets 1. And then let's go with Glasgow gets 1 as well.
No safety blitzes, corner blitzes. I'm interested to see how dynamic Jay Hill is with the defense tonight, because I think that what we've seen through 3 games is BYU hasn't shown all their cards yet. They haven't had to, and so the more that BYU can, make Colorado one-dimensional, it'll allow Jay Hill to really get in his bag and tee off on the Buffalo offense, because you mentioned the situation with Colorado's quarterback play through 3 games, and really it feels like they're still kind of getting settled there. They haven't fully figured that part of their game out. The fact that they're down a running back, there's a lot
Two running backs.
There's a lot of question marks with Colorado's offense, and Jay Hill, he's been outstanding this season so far, and this defense really has so many weapons that allow him to do a lot of creative things as far as scheming against the quarterback play.
And I think if BYU's defense has success early against Colorado, you can really deflate this crowd. I think Colorado fans are a little bit uneasy about this Buffs team.
Are we going to see the student section stay in the crowd longer tonight, though, than we did last week?
Well, and it's not a sellout yet. That would be only the second time in the Coach Prime era that Colorado has not sold out its home turf. So there's a little bit of uneasiness about this Colorado team. If you jump on them early, force some 3-outs, maybe a takeaway, maybe a sack or two, and you really pounce on these guys, it can really deflate their sales and really take them out of it, and then you could potentially coast to a victory. Let's give our score predictions coming up on the other side. We'll take our final timeout. It's Kyle Ireland, Mitch Harper. We're live from Boulder, Colorado. Score predictions next for the Cougs and the Buffs here on KSL News Radio.